country. There are other Catholic radio stations out there in the United States, but we reach a lot of people. And people, when they leave our diocese, they know about this and they stay tuned into it and they tell others about it. So Catholic radio in our diocese is benefiting the nation.
Redeemer Radio equips listeners to evangelize so that God can work miracles in our families, neighborhoods, and communities. Every donation helps us reach more souls for Christ as the seeds of faith are spread. We'll never know how many souls are saved because of the generosity of listeners like you.
This is Dr. David Anders, host of Called to Communion, heard here on Redeemer Radio weekdays from 2 to 3 p.m. On Called to Communion, we take calls from non-Catholics and answer questions about what's keeping them from becoming Catholic. Thank you for listening to and supporting Catholic programming like Called to Communion, heard right here on Redeemer Radio.
I'm passively just listening while I'm also driving, and it's, when you don't have time at home necessarily to sit down and where do you even begin, you just get this stuff fed to you, and it's just wonderful. It's easy. And all you have to do is turn it on and drive around or listen at home.
Help us amplify the voice of God. Pledge now by calling or texting GIVE to 260-436-9598.
Become a day sponsor and honor a birthday, anniversary, feast day, or other special occasion with an on-air message. With a $400 donation, your personalized message will air 6 times on the day of your choosing. For a $700 donation, it will air 12 times. And for $1,000, it will air 18 times. Plus, your donation supports the mission of Redeemer Radio. Become a day sponsor now.
Help us continue encouraging others like you to live a vibrant life of faith. Call or text GIVE to the Holy Cross College text line at 260-436-9598 or donate online at redeemerradio.com. This is Redeemer Radio Sharathon. Thank you for listening to and supporting your local Catholic radio station.
Hello. Thank you for listening to Redeemer Radio's Fall Sharathon. I am Mary Jo Parrish. I'm going to be your host for this hour, and I am joined in the studio with members from St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. We have the pastor, which is Father Terry Coonan. Say hi, Father.
Hello.
We also have Father Luke Okulier. Say hello, Father Luke.
Hello.
And then we also have Rob Slocum. He's the facilities manager who's also in the diaconate program. You say hi, Rob?
Hello.
So we're so glad you're here today. So our goal for this hour is $12,000. The highest number of pledges we have ever had in the history for St. Elizabeth Ann Seton is 91. So we want to break that. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to break that. The highest amount that we've ever raised for St. Elizabeth Ann Seton is $17,260. So that's woo.
Oh, man.
So our goal is $12,000. So we're first just going to start with that. And I always love to, obviously we're just going to start with how to give, and then we're going to talk about the charism of your parish, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. So if you've never donated before, or if you have, you can go to redeemerradio.com, or you can call or text GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 260-436-9598. So St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. Now, did you attend seminary at Mount St. Mary's, Father Terry?
No, I did not.
You missed out on the St. Elizabeth shrine out there.
Right. I'm too old as far as priesthood goes. We were not going to seminary yet until pretty much at the end of my time of formation. I was already ordained.
Okay, so my son, Father Logan Parrish, we got to go out there and visit them at Mount St. Mary's. So
yeah.
Our seminarians now are trained out there in Maryland, like named for Mary, the land of Mary, Maryland. And St. Elizabeth Ann Shrine is there, and it's very beautiful. So it's really cool. So she lost her mom at 3 years old, right? And she ended up getting married to a man named William. They had 5 kids together, and then he died. In the process of like mourning him, she found the Catholic faith and ended up converting, and then losing most of her friends and family because they were so mad that she left the Episcopalian faith.
Yeah.
But she had this deep desire to receive the Eucharist, and then because she lost her mother at such a young age, she found such comfort in the Blessed Mother. So like of all those things, like what part really stands out to you?
For me, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, one, I guess, as far as the story that you were sharing, certainly the fact that she also, after becoming Catholic, etc., eventually founding a religious community of sisters. So I think that stands out, that she lived both worlds,
Yes.
and it makes her relatable to women who, living the family life, but also to religious, even men, but certainly religious women who are living that vocation as well. She went through them both.
Yes. she
So
did.
I do love that particularly about her, but also just, the fact that her faith was a consolation to her in the midst of her trials and woes.
Right.
Every one of us has serious pains and wounds and trials in this life. And, there's a lot of woundedness in the world. And that woundedness can so often turn into just spreading it around, right?
Right.
Hurt people, as they
Right.
say. And if we don't go out to the Lord to let him heal that and transform that, then it's really just a tragedy. We continue the cycle of tragedy.
Right.
But so I see the beauty of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton letting the Lord heal and transform her heart, so that it ended up continuing to be a life of love that was outwardly focused, not just on herself and her own pain, but ends up becoming a life still for others, just in
Right.
a new way.
So that quote you said, like, hurt people. And then I listened to someone recently who said, healed people heal people. And so, like, she took that healing and then brought it forth. And that's one thing that Redeemer is doing right now. It's like, it's trying to bring forth the healing of the Lord to others. And so if you've ever been impacted and, like, found healing or hope or comfort in Redeemer Radio, we just ask you just to act on that, just to walk in faith, and to go to redeemerradio.com or to call or text give to 260-436-9598. So when you're talking about like that, her being a mom, so I have 10 kids, and so like pretty much my life is chaotic mess all the time. And I know you have how many brothers and sisters?
7, so there were 8 of us.
There were 8. And then how many of you are priests?
Just my brother, Father Matt, and myself.
So just 2 of the 8. Yeah, that's pretty significant.
Only half of the boys.
So if you had to think of like a couple things that your parents did well, and you're like, if you have kids and you're listening to this, like, what are the things that you would say, don't forget to do what?
Well, Mom and Dad, they kept us in the community of the faith. So we were going to church every Sunday. We were participating in the parish in other ways. For example, like Stations of the Cross on Fridays of Lent, or other little things, parish. If there was like a parish mission, we would participate in that. So keeping us connected that way. They had us go to youth group, which we enjoyed, so it wasn't like a burden, but
Right.
Going to youth group and all those things. So keeping us connected to the parish, and that was huge.
Right.
Another, I would say, from Mom and Dad was bringing the parish life into the home, not in super complicated ways, but trying to celebrate Advent and Lent and,
Right.
and Christmas and Easter. Trying to celebrate those things. Praying before meals, teaching us to pray before bed. Those simple things. Yeah, Mom and Dad will often testify that they did nothing special, that they just did a lot of the basics, and God did his work through those very ordinary means, but giving us a call to live this vocation. And it's ultimately it's God's call. We can't force our parents should not want to force their children to be in religious vocations,
Right.
but they can just create that environment where there's an openness to it,
Right.
and a willingness
Fertile
to
soil.
say yes.
Right,
Yeah.
fertile soil. One of the quotes from St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, which I love, is disorder in society is the result of disorder in the family. Yeah, disorder in the society is the result of disorder in the family. And so just like knowing as a parent to create the order that God desires for you and your children, and, you know, helping others to do that as well. And Redeemer is great about helping people remember who they're supposed to be focused on, Jesus Christ, who is their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And we just invite you to help us to reach our 1 hour goal of $12,000 today, if by texting or calling 260-436-9598, or to go to redeemerradio.com to donate. So on to you, Father Luke. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Yeah, there are 7 of us. I am the 6th out of the 7.
Okay. And then,
I have 4 sisters and then 2 other brothers.
oh, wow. Big families. I love it.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like we're not the only crazy ones, because it does feel a little crazy all the time.
It is.
So, Father Luke, if you had to say like one thing that your parents did that helped form you well, what would you say? Because you're from Nigeria, so maybe it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think formation is the same. My parents were wonderful parents, and my dad especially would never let you start the day without going for morning mass. So we always go for morning mass every day, and then we won't end the day without saying our rosary as a family. And he led us through the church and everything that happens in the church. We are part and parcel of the church, and that's how I started being an altar server at a very tender age. And then we also have a block rosary center. I don't know what you know. What is it? We have a block rosary, where children gather to pray every evening, and it is in our house.
Right.
So the villagers,
So everyone from the neighborhood.
yes, from neighborhood come together to pray
That's
in our
beautiful.
house.
Oh
And
wow.
that was how we grew up, and
Now that's a domestic church. I love that.
really, really domestic church.
That's
right.
beautiful.
Wow.
Okay. Father Terry, can you read from over there, like some
Yeah,
of our
sure.
donations, and
Yeah,
maybe
some
if
of the
you know
donations that
any
we
of these
see.
people, like
So Mr. and Mrs. Paul Everett and
Thank
Mr. and
you.
Mrs. Larry Till, thank you for your donations, and wow, many others already.
pouring in.
Mr.
Oh
and
my
Mrs. James
goodness.
Smith and Ronald Glotzbach,
Wow.
Christopher Booth, his family, Maggie Landrigan, Mark and Maggie Landrigan, and wow, the list is continuing to roll. So I want to thank them, and also the Yaks and Scrantons, Carolyn Travis, Mr. and Mrs. Donald Mouch, and Janine Campbell. So 11 pledges so far. Thank you to those who have donated. There's probably others that
Thank
we're
you,
processing.
thank you, thank
Right.
you.
Thank you for your generosity.
And so we've raised $1,100 so far. So we're getting close to that $12,000 goal. I love how St. Elizabeth poured in. Their people poured in immediately. You go. That's
Sweet.
amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Rob. So how many brothers and sisters?
There's 5 of us all together.
Okay. And so what would you say?
Well,
Something your parents
my
did?
family was a little different.
Okay.
My dad wasn't Catholic,
Okay.
and but they gave us a very loving home,
Right.
and I think we felt that love.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they made sure I went to Catholic school and Catholic high school, and I think there was always a sense at a very early age communicating with God. There was a sense that God was in our lives,
Right.
even though my dad didn't participate when I was very young, but he converted to Catholicism when I was probably 8 or 9 years old.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Did you go through the RCIA Mass?
Yeah,
Like the-
yeah, well, he did, but back
Mr.
then
Mitchell.
the RCI class was him, one, and Father Hadi, who is no longer with us,
Okay.
and it was a good experience for him, that
Yeah,
one-on-one relationship
right.
with Father Hadi, and it, I think it changed his life.
Sure.
And so from that point on, I would never say that we were the family that did a rosary once a week or anything like that. I would
Right.
never claim that, but there was always a sense of God being in our lives.
Right.
And we went to church every Sunday, and they made sure that we did have a sense of God.
I think one of the lies the enemy tells us is that we have to be, on our knees praying the rosary with all our kids every day. Like, it has to be so hard. And it's or super, super sacred. And the beauty of the Lord is, he loves our laughter, so, the joy of the Lord, when you talk about love, can be through, laughter. I mean, there's like the balance of the sacred and the silly, not at the same time, but
Right.
a little bit of both. And so I love that. So if you're just tuning in, we would love for you to be part of our donations. We've pouring in from St. E's. You guys are amazing. Call or text GIVE 260-436-9598 or go to redeemradio.com.
Yeah, thank you to more names that we have just received for those who have made pledges. Mr. and Mrs. Gannon, Corrine Ramey, and Dr. Gregory Vierkamp, Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Edwards, Ellie Leja, Joanne Leja, and Joe Leja. Did I say that right, Rob, or is it Leah?
I
don't
think
know.
you said it right.
And Sarah King and Mr. and Mrs. Gregory Wertner. Thank you, all families, for what you have done. A lot of these names, as a brand new pastor at the parish, I got there, like, was it 3 months ago, Father
Yeah,
Luke?
you're
And
learning.
myself.
Right,
We're both
right.
brand new,
We are
Father
both
Luke and I
brand
at the
new.
parish. And so we know maybe a fraction of these names, really.
Right.
Right.
Probably more of them if we saw them in person, their faces.
Sure.
We'd say, hey, I know where you sit at Mass on Sundays, but that's be about it at this point. We're still just
it's-
Still
learning.
learning.
It
That's
is a
okay.
big parish.
Oh, it
There's
is.
like
Exactly.
6,000. So there's a lot of people I recognize their faces
Right.
out in public.
Right.
But if I had to come up with their name right at that moment, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I see Sarah King on there. So Kingdom Builders is that's a mission that I run, and so Sarah King is one of our presenters. And I didn't know who she was, but I actually her husband is a urologist and removed some of my kidney stones. And I was praying my rosary before I went into surgery. I felt a lot of concern before I went into surgery, and he walked in and he kind of looked at my rosary and he didn't say anything. And then on his way out, he pulls out his pocket rosary and he said, "Glad to see I'm not alone." And I was like, "Oh, Our Lady sent me one of her sons to do the surgery." I was like so blessed. And then later on, Sarah King ends up in the ministry, and she's an amazing presenter for Kingdom Builders. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So talking about like Kingdom Builders, so we do 45 minutes of Eucharistic adoration with praise and worship. And so one of the things that really brought St. Elizabeth Ann Seton over to the Catholic Church was her desire to receive the Eucharist. So when you're talking about, Eucharistic adoration or, bringing students to Eucharistic adoration, like what have you done or what are you planning to do with anything with that?
Before I got to the parish, there was a tradition of having adoration pretty much all throughout the day, one day a week.
Awesome.
And so we had to change Mass schedule a little bit, but we still have that from, I guess, after the morning Mass, which would end up being around like 9 a.m. until 8:30 p.m. on Tuesdays,
Okay.
with a little break for 6 p.m. Mass Tuesday evening. But we have that all day Tuesday for people to come for adoration of the Blessed Sacrament.
Beautiful.
We're doing it in the church just to allow more space
Right,
for everyone.
Right.
And on
And
Saturdays too.
yeah, and then
on
on Saturdays.
Saturdays.
Yeah, on Saturdays after we have our morning Mass, while we're hearing confessions, so around 9 to 10 for 1 hour of adoration on Saturdays, but then all day Tuesday. And that allows also the students in the school who are coming to Mass
Right.
that day on Tuesday, because that's one of the normal days they typically come, to experience just the beginning of adoration. So we expose the Blessed Sacrament, and they see the beginning of that time of adoration. So it's been a really beneficial thing for
yes.
the community
It is.
and for the school, for the students.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
So Rob, talking about like Eucharistic adoration and your process to decide to go through the diaconate program, was adoration a part of that?
I don't know if the decision to do that, but since I've been in the program, and the whole program is like 4.5 years, and we're in that we have like 16 months to go. About halfway through, I pretty much discovered it much more intimately, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And so I go into church for about 20 minutes, a half hour every day to
Awesome.
be with the sacrament. And there's some days with actually adorations going on. But I'll try to, because in becoming a future deacon, we read the breviary in the morning, and part of that's the church fathers. There's always a reading from that, and so I usually read that reading,
Okay.
and then I reflect on that for that time period, and it's very rich.
Beautiful.
Like this
Yeah.
morning with St. Augustine, and
Yeah.
it's,
Right.
it's just it's amazing. It really still talks to our society now,
Oh, yeah.
although some of these are from 200 and 300 AD. So it's
What is truth then is truth now. Truth doesn't
exactly.
change. I
Doesn't
love
change.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
When I went, so my parish is St. Vincent's, and so when they opened up the chapel, I wanted to do a middle of the night on the weekend. And
Mhm.
when I first started going, I was like, I'm doing God a favor, like I'm going to come like hang out with him in the middle of the night because I know not very many people want to do that. I'm going to do him a favor, which is so like prideful that I ever thought that, but I'm just going to be admit I did. And then finally, like, he, like, his grace kind of formed me properly, and I realized, like, I was coming there to meet, the divine lover, like, a lover in the middle of the night. So anticipating when I would go, I wouldn't think to myself, oh, I had to do adoration in the middle of the night. I'm not going to get very much sleep. I'm going to be tired in the morning. I'd be like, 10 hours until I get to be with my lover, 9 hours. It's like to kind of change your mindset on who you're meeting, because that's the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. And let's just pause with soul. That's the soul of Jesus Christ, the soul of God right there. So of course that's your lover. You were made in love and for love. So anytime you're thinking, I should stop in adoration, that's actually like a little signal grace. Go, listen to that thought, and like bringing that forward to the world, like those graces forward to the world, so we can invite people in to receive the Eucharist is part of the mission of Redeemer Radio. So if you've ever, like felt like, oh man, I'm really inspired, or I really want to give back, please call us today at 260-436-9598. You can call or text GIVE, G-I-V-E, or you can go to redeemerradio.com. So we have some more pledges.
Yeah, an update on some of those names that I can see. I see Dave Nyman and Mike Winker, George Makovic, and then Eric and Miriam Schmitz. Miriam helps here at Redeemer Radio, as well as Jason and Karen Wardwell. Jason's on the other side of the glass there working for us. So
That's awesome.
I want to thank them for their work to help with Redeemer Radio and this beautiful initiative that it's outside of the work of the diocese, but it's
Right.
definitely coincides with it, and it's a beautiful mission. Happy to support it and be a part of it, and for all the things that I listen to a lot at Redeemer Radio. I listen to the Bishop's show and the Doctor show, especially, are two things that I try never ever to miss.
Okay, what about the Building Through Him podcast?
I don't know about that podcast. I
Okay.
might have to start listening
Yes.
to that one too.
So it's like when we do the Kingdom Builders Gathering, we have the teaching, but then we put
Right.
it on the podcast. So if they,
So it's the same teaching.
it's the same teaching.
Cool.
Yeah, so if
Cool.
they're not able to get to the gathering, they can still listen to it.
Ah,
Yeah,
very good, very good, very
good.
Well, a lot of times I just go to the Kingdom Builders thing, at our parish.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So so talking about that, I went to confession this morning over at St. Charles, and so I'm not the presenter there, but so this is TMI, I apologize, but I confessed gluttony, looking at my phone obsessively. So it's like an overuse of pleasure. So
Sure.
and he said, you go to Kingdom Builders. And I was like, I do. He's like, I remember that. I never thought of that before. So even he was listening to the teaching. He was like,
There you go.
yes. I'm like, and that was
Cool.
kind of cool. He's like, yeah, that's good. So that was neat. So it's like our priests are, fully invested in the Father's daughters, and that's awesome. So when it comes to back to St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, her, love for Our Lady, how has Our Lady, not because we don't worship Mary, we just honor and love her and allow us. She allows us to be loved by her, and she only ever leads us to her Son. So remember, her last words in scriptures were, "Do whatever He tells you." Right. So we know that. So how has Our Lady been, in your life as far as your formation or part of what leads you to holiness?
For me, I can think of, especially my time of college years and preparing to enter seminary, really feeling drawn by God to do that ultimately. But I remember especially when I would pray the rosary during times of Eucharistic adoration over at the chapel at St. Jude. I'd be there and praying that rosary, thinking about Mary's just abandonment to God and her yes to God, and saying, God, your will be done in my life. That really is what helped me to really abandon myself completely to God's providential plan for my own life, and feel when time was right, feel ready to go to seminary to
Right.
pursue the possible vocation to the priesthood that eventually I did. So that time of Mary's yes and her motherly role in that time of discernment for me was really huge. How about you, Father Luke? Any special connection with Our Lady in your own story?
I think what I have to say has a little link to what you're talking about, because it's about I am the handmaid of the Lord that she says, and let it be done to me according to your word. A lot of things have happened in my life as a priest, and I end up at the end of it all saying, I am only a handmaid, I'm only your child, I'm only your son. Whatever you wish done in my life, that's okay for me. And that's what I learned from Our Lady, because that's what she said.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Rob, what about you?
You know, I think at a certain point in life, the reality of her being the Queen Mother,
Yes.
and her relationship with Jesus, and thinking that the whole idea of praying to her because she has that special connection
Right.
with our Lord, and at a certain point that connected for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't there for my whole life,
Sure.
and so I think of her much more as a mother
Right.
than I did in the past. So
I love that.
When I go to her, it's seeking a mother's love.
Right.
So,
And it reminds me, like, she's always like calling out to us. So when, Jesus died on the cross, some of his last words were like, John, behold your mother, Mary, behold your son. Like, he gives her not just to John the Beloved, he gives her to all of us. So all of us can claim her as our mother, not just Catholics. All of us get to claim her as our mother. And she's always like reaching out to those in need and leading them to her son. And that's exactly what Redeemer Radio does, reaching out to those who need him and leading them back to Jesus. And so if you have ever been, inspired or moved by Redeemer Radio, or you're just listening now and you're like, well, I'm thinking about it, just go ahead and take the plunge, walk in faith, just like Our Lady did. Call or text GIVE GIVE to 260-436-9598, or you can go to redeemerradio.com. So we got a couple more pledges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got from Gabriel and Lourdes Reynolds and their family, and then Steve and Dory Bush. So I want to thank them for their donations.
Awesome. And we're up to $4,120. So we're almost halfway there. Not really almost, but pretty getting close. And our overall goal for this hour is $12,000. So we're getting close to the break mark. I just want to say one thing before we go to break is, so I do a decade of the rosary for each of my kids, and the rosary that I do for my oldest son, Father Logan, is the Annunciation. So when she says yes, I'm visualizing Logan right next to her, also saying, yes, Lord, like, your will be done. Even though I don't really understand it, like, I trust that you only want the best for me, and so even if I don't understand it, I'm just going to walk in faith. And I love that. So the fact that you said that was like affirmation for me, like, oh, that is the right decade for him.
Yeah. Amen.
So we just thank you for tuning in, and we will be right back after our break.
You never know how far the Holy Spirit can take your gift to Redeemer Radio. Our programs strengthen faithful parents, teachers and catechists, even our local priests who take the truth of the faith they hear on Redeemer Radio and share it even further. Your support will help spread the seeds of faith right here in our community.
I'm a firm believer that even as a father and as a husband, I'm very limited in my effects. I think sometimes when we live with people in the same house every day, we may not be overly effective. And sometimes they need a voice that they're not used to hearing. And I truly believe that God works through stations like Redeemer Radio to evangelize. And sometimes people just need to hear a different perspective, or someone saying the same thing but coming from someone else. And I think that Redeemer Radio has a way of, through its programming, both the national stuff and then the local stuff, it has a way of getting a message across that is uplifting and not just beating you over the head. It's informative, but yet fun as well. So sometimes, especially with young people, when their parents give them this message, it doesn't resonate as much as it should, but sometimes when they hear it from, someone else, the same thing, it can resonate a little bit better, so.
We need your support to continue sharing the good news. Give securely online by going to redeemerradio.com and click Give Now, or call 260-436-9598.
This is Leonard DiLorenzo from the McGrath Institute for Church Life at the University of Notre Dame and host of Church Life Today on Redeemer Radio. On Church Life Today, we have conversations with pastoral leaders and scholars from around the country about issues that matter most to the church today. Thank you for listening and supporting Catholic programming like Church Life Today, heard right here on Redeemer Radio.
It costs about $120 to provide Redeemer Radio listeners with 1 hour of Catholic programming. All donors who give this amount or more automatically qualify for a specially designed t-shirt. Call today and support Redeemer Radio's efforts to amplify the voice of the Creator with content that invites.
Joining our mission is even easier with our mobile app. Download Redeemer Radio's app to your Apple or Android device and click Give Now.
Your investment helps listeners on every part of their faith journey. Call or text GIVE to the Holy Cross College text line at 260-436-9598 or donate online at redeemerradio.com. This is Redeemer Radio's Sharathon. Thank you for tuning in to your listener-supported local Catholic radio station.
To Redeemer Radio's Sharathon. I'm Mary Jo Parrish. I'm your host for this hour, and I'm joined in the studio with staff from St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. We have Father Terry Coonan, Father Okulier, and Rob Slocum. So we're so excited to have you here. So the pouring out from St. Elizabeth Ann Seton parishioners is amazing. So our record highest pledges we've ever had is 91. We only have 24 pledges so far. I'd love to set a new record, wouldn't you, Father Terry?
Yes.
Wouldn't that just set the stage for you being a new pastor?
Yeah.
You walked into Redeemer and we had the most pledges we've ever had before. I love that because he's
That'd
only
be
been a
great.
pastor for 3 months. So
Right, yeah.
here
Still
at
learning.
St. Elizabeth. So that's so cool. So this morning's reading talked about Susanna, her giving towards the mission. And I was like, oh, that's so significant since we are here today. You know, it wasn't her out there preaching, but it was her money that allowed the apostles to go out and preach, you know? So, like, knowing that the people here, you listening, have the opportunity to be so Susanna, to keep Redeemer Radio moving forward so that we can go forth to build the kingdom. We need Susannas, right? We need Susannas that can put forth their treasure so that the word can be spoken. So if you would like to call or text, you can. That's 260-436-9598. If you're going to text, GIVE, G-I-V-E, or you can go to redeemradio.com. I know one of the reasons I didn't ever donate in the past before I finally did was I was worried I would get on some like list and all of a sudden I'd start getting a bunch of emails or like random phone calls or like stuff in my mail. And so if that's ever a concern, like we don't share your information, that just doesn't happen. So that was one of what the enemy told me, don't give because you know, there's going to be something else bad that happened. You know, it's like, oh my goodness, that was so silly. So that my information was safe. I didn't have to worry about that. And we're talking about, you know, bringing forth God's word to the world. When Bishop Road talks to different people, they often say what led them to Catholicism. is Redeemer Radio, that was a major influence. So for people who don't really want to take the step yet, they just want to learn a little bit more, that's an easy place for people just to kind of turn it on and listen a little bit, because the Father works gently. It's not, rush. It's like He just gently works on our heart and allows His graces to come in. And so this is just a comfortable place where, we are able to amplify that voice of the Creator with the content that invites people in. So it's just such a blessing. So because we're with St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, we're kind of talking about her charisms there at this parish. And we've talked about her love of Our Lady and what that looks like, and what brought her forth to become Catholic. She's a convert. She was Episcopalian. Was the desire for the Eucharist. She had such a great desire for the Eucharist. And she was, although her mom died at a young age, she was actually wealthy and she was beautiful, and married to a businessman who had a lot of money, and basically lost all of the things that society tells us, allow us to be safe. Her husband died, and her family and friends abandoned her, and she lost all that wealth, and so she lived in poverty with those 5 children all alone. And I think, when people feel that darkness in their life, all of us, as you said, Father Terry, earlier, have different struggles, and we can feel like we're all alone. And, she took those and brought forth so much goodness. The Lord brought forth so much goodness through her. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it kind of connects to the Feast of the Triumph of the Cross that we just recently celebrated as well. If we are able to cling to the cross with Christ and not give up, when it is difficult, that's often through those experiences that God will actually bear a lot of good fruit.
Right.
Not necessarily for ourselves, but for everyone, and usually that comes back to us in some way as well. But if we are really clinging to that with Christ, still living a life saying, Father, your will be done, and my life is not going to be about myself, but it's going to be offered up for you and for those around me. When we do that, the Lord does reward. He does provide. An Easter, after a Good Friday, after those trials, there is some new life that He gives.
Right.
So she experienced that. St. Elizabeth Ann Seton really lived that through those real trials that she had. And that's something that, is the part of the life of every single Christian.
Right.
If you're Christian long enough, you're
Right.
going to experience that. Maybe if you convert on your deathbed, you might not have too much of it. But for the rest of us, it is something that it's a story that we all know.
Right.
That we all have to live one way or another.
Right. The power of the
Well,
cross.
I think everybody's a hunger of wanting a happy life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so often people think the happiness comes in possessions and a marriage or whatever it might be. And in her
Right.
case, she lost everything. I think the dynamic even now that people need to know they need to depend on God.
Right.
They don't need to. God will help them get through that time.
Right.
And the belongings of this world might go away, but God's never going to go away.
Right.
And even now, that message, is so needed. People have went places and done things just because they're seeking love,
Right.
and it's it's not God's love. And so I think it's really important for people today to realize how much God really loves them.
There's this quote by St. Maximilian Kolbe. He said, "Let us remember that love lives through sacrifice and is nourished by giving. Without sacrifice, there is no love." And so, knowing that we're made for love, to not just to receive it, but then to give it, and that is nourished by giving. And that's what we're doing here today. We're asking you to give. We want you to be nourished with His love. And so if you would like to go to redeemerradio.com or call or text GIVE give to 260-436-9598. We would love it. Father Terry, what do we got over here?
Some other donations, some other names for those who have donated. Thanks to Scott and Sharon Hinderman. who I believe I know some of their children through World Youth Day trips.
Oh, cool.
And Elizabeth Burkhart, Doug and Judy Diebel. There are others, but we haven't gotten the names yet. But so thanks to those who have donated. And it looks like there's a new challenge as well.
Oh, wow.
For those who are new pledges, new pledges during this hour, then we get an extra $500 bonus to our total for this hour. So
that's awesome.
Anyone from the parish, I guess you don't have to be from the parish, but if you are, if you're new as a new donor to Redeemer Radio, you are helping to unlock this special bonus for our parish's hour, for our goal.
That would be amazing. So if you've never given before, that's you. Like you're thinking, oh, it's going to be some other person. Nope, we're talking to you. So that's 5 people who have never given before. It unlocks an extra $500. That would be amazing. So I was praying with the quote from St. Teresa of Avila that Christ has no body now but yours.
Mm-hmm.
No hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which Christ looks compassion into the world. Yours are the feet with which Christ walks to do good. Yours are the hands with which Christ blesses the world. And that's what Redeemer Radio is doing, and when you give towards this mission, that's what you are doing as well. You're allowing your body to be Christ in this world. And so I just encourage, if you're hesitant up to this point, like, I've been on the fence, but just go ahead and take the plunge and walk in faith. It's five new donors, no matter what the amount. 5 new donors unlocks that $500 pledge.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in my undergrad, it was in business, and it was at Indiana Wesleyan. One of my professor comes up to me and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I really respect the Catholic Church, because I really respect what they do with their education. They really make education a high focus, a priority."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, thank you. And I'd never
Sure.
really considered that before. We just get used to, so many Catholic schools, and not grade schools, high schools, colleges, that I never really thought about, like, oh, we do prioritize education. And so St. Elizabeth Ann Seton is actually considered the foundress of Catholic education in America.
Mm-hmm.
And so how has being this new pastor, that focus, because your last parish did not have a Catholic school, right?
No, it did not.
So this is a new parish with a
Yeah.
Catholic school. How have you embraced that?
Well, I've instituted a couple of fun things with the school. Actually, mainly just one.
Okay.
To help the priests kind of be involved in the school more consistently. It's a trick that I learned from my first parish at St. Pius X with Father Bill Schooler. We would do this, where we would more or less divide and conquer one day a week, and just one would take half of the school, the other would take the other half, and we just bounce through from one class to the next to teach for like 15 to 20 minutes in like every grade. So we're doing that now with myself, Father Luke, and Father Stephen
Mm-hmm.
Felicia, where we will take turns visiting and teaching these kids. So Wednesday is the day that we do that most of the school, but the 7th and 8th we do on Fridays. So that's why I was almost late for this radio hour today.
We were stressing out.
I was teaching the 8th graders. I'm not sure how much I taught them, but I played guitar for the kids this week, and I was talking to them about how...
Wait, pause. What did you play?
I played, I can play some Christian music stuff.
Okay, it wasn't like...
But I also learned classical music, so
Oh, wow.
I know how
I
to
thought you were
play
going to
some.
be like, "I'm a little teapot." This is actually legit. Awesome.
No,
okay.
like other stuff. So I learned in college, and so I was talking to them about, how virtues are developed over time with work and with effort, and then we ultimately can do things very well. Like the way I can play guitar like this is because I spent a lot of time and effort doing it. But then, that works in so many other parts of life. And really, when we die, that's not what matters. Like, God doesn't care how good we are at basketball or at art or dance or how many languages we can speak. All these things are really, really good ways that we can develop and become excellent. But God cares about, can we do that with love? with, the way that we live the moral life? Like, are we doing those things excellently by effort and consistently trying to grow and develop those skills? So I talked about that, and I talked about freedom, how, so many people say, I stole this from Bishop Barron, but people say, like, freedom, just do whatever you want. Well, that doesn't work when you're talking about things that people care about, like golf. Like, you don't just go and swing a golf club any way you want. You don't just step up to a piano and just bang on keys any way that you want.
Right.
You submit your freedom to some kind of good that you're pursuing, and then you become excellent at it, and then you actually really are free. Like, Mozart is the one who's free in front of a piano because he can do anything he wants, and it's beautiful and it's amazing.
Right.
But that's because he gave his freedom up again and again and again. So anyways, we teach in the school. That's one of the things that we love doing, is getting to be with the kids, maybe every week, hopefully every week.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily happen every single week. But we've been able to do that pretty consistently so far this school year.
So now you have also a lot of nieces and nephews, I bet.
I have about 11, nieces and nephews,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yep. So Father Logan, so he's the oldest of 10, so he just keeps asking, that my one daughter who's married, are you pregnant yet? You pregnant?
Yeah.
He just
When
can't
is it
wait
gonna
for it. He
come?
can't wait for it because he just loves the kids. So, like, her love for the kids and you carrying that charism forward is beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're thinking about donating, you're like, I just really want, like, a little bit more, what's in it for me? That's okay. You can do that. So we have 3 main categories of giving. So we have this Made for Greatness t-shirt, right? Because you are not just made to watch Netflix or play video games all day. You are not. That's why when you watch a lot of Netflix or play video games for like too many hours, you feel yucky inside because you're actually made for greatness. That's what you're made for. So we have this amazing, and I'm really picky about t-shirts. I really like this t-shirt. It's a Made for Greatness t-shirt. It's not like this like a green color with white wording. It's beautiful. And for any $120 donation, you get a free t-shirt. I highly recommend this t-shirt. It's also really soft quality, so it's like the type that it's not cheap. I like this type of t-shirt. And then if you want to donate $300, we're doing a Notre Dame ticket giveaway that was donated by Tom and Kathy Skiba. So thank you for that. So you're automatically eligible to win 2 tickets to the Notre Dame versus USC on October 23rd. And then 400 or above, you can become a day sponsor with like special on-air messaging. So you get 6 on-air messages for the day. And if you do 700, it's 12 on-air messages for the day, or 1,000, 18 on-air messages for the day. So it's great if you really want to honor like an anniversary or a birthday or in remembrance of a loved one. Yeah, so like husbands, if you're like, ooh, my wife would really feel loved if, yes, she would. Yes, she would. Yeah. You talk about her all day, she would love that. And just to kind of bring forth your love of the family to the world. I love that. So if any of those interest you, you can call or text GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 260-436-9598, or go to RedeemerRadio.com.
And many have done so, apparently. There's a long list. I can't even see all the names anymore. But I remember Scarlett Sabaski and the Beckmans and other names we got here.
Did you say the staff?
The Henriettos, our parish staff, who are over there right now. The Rolfsons, Tony Gray, Dan and Linda Landrigan, the Krishes, Gerald Pulaski. There are many others whose names I did not get to, and I apologize if I missed them. John Trock and others. But yeah, a lot of pledges have come in. We have over 40 pledges now. And
awesome.
Getting closer to that $12,000 goal. I wonder if we have enough new pledges yet to unlock that $500 bonus. But that would be awesome,
and
too.
we actually only need 2120 to meet our $12,000 goal. So you, St. E's, you guys are rocking this. That's awesome. So we are super excited about that. Oh, Brian and Diana Smith. We love our parish, and we are blessed with wonderful priests. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, Father
Thank
Luke
you
and
for
Father
that
Stephen
message.
are wonderful priests.
And you too.
Father Terry DeBose is also a very wonderful man.
Thank you.
You too. Oh my goodness, you're so funny.
Thanks
That's
to the Smiths.
Beautiful. One of the quotes when St. Elizabeth Ann Seton was trying to discern back and forth whether she wanted to convert to Catholicism or not, because her pastor in Episcopalian church was like really trying to get her not to convert, and she just wanted the Eucharist so desperately. One thing she said is, "I will go peaceably and firmly to the Catholic Church, for faith is so important to our salvation. I will seek it where faith first began, seek it among those who received it from God himself." And so I love that quote, and it's like that's exactly what we're doing in Redeemer Radio. Like, I love all my brothers and sisters, but we have so many gifts here in the Catholic Church. I want everyone to receive the Eucharist. You know, I want that for everybody. And that's part of the mission of Redeemer, is to bring that to the world so that they can come into the church, so that they can come home. You want to be a part of that, please go to redeemerradio.com or call or text GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 260-436-9598. We are almost done with the hour. So if you've been on the fence, you're like, I'm just not sure, just push forward a little bit. You can do it. We're almost done. So when it comes to like being a priest, what is like your highest, I don't know, or get me like your top 5 joys?
Top 5 joys of being a priest. Definitely going to bed and knowing that, you know, the world's better. Some people's lives are better off because of what I did that day. That's really, really beautiful. You know, like everything I do constantly has eternal consequences because I'm dealing with people and I'm dealing with matters of salvation, you know. So that's definitely one of the top 5. So hearing confessions, I really do enjoy hearing confessions and knowing that I'm helping someone. I think I'm probably, my gifts are better off in one-on-one and helping people in small incremental ways. That's just kind of part of the way God made me. I do enjoy teaching in one way or another, like through homilies, etc., being able to help people learn about the faith or grow in their faith in one way or another. Those are some of the things that I really do enjoy. Also, having as the parish sort of as my family, right? You know, being a father, a spiritual father, and therefore having spiritual children, having a sort of a real family there in the parish, the way that they welcome me, you know, into their lives, those have been some of the greatest joys, you know. And then other little side things too, like going to World Youth Day, etc. That's definitely been a great joy.
I think, Luke? Yeah, Father Luke, what do you think? What are some of your joys being a priest?
I wouldn't want to begin to count 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to summarize my joy in being a priest in the fact that, I mean, on what you do I am, God has chosen me to be a shepherd to these people entrusted to me. And it gives me joy that God uses my hands to feed his people, uses my mouth to teach his people. You know, through all these sacraments that Father already mentioned, you know, celebrating the Eucharist, hearing confessions, baptizing people, you know, and all that, and all the sacraments. So it gives me great joy every day to know that God has really, you know, been so generous to me by giving me this beautiful gift of the priesthood. That's all. That's the only way I can summarize the greatest joy that I have as a priest. You know.
Well, I thank you both for your gift of your life to the priesthood. It's like when we talk about, when people say, is it really Jesus in the Eucharist? You know, it's like, really Jesus? I'm like, yeah. My son staked his life on the fact that it's Jesus. You know, it's like when Father Andrew said one time, I didn't give up a wife and children for crackers and grape juice. Like, that's the body and blood of Jesus right there. Yeah. When St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, your namesake, finally received Jesus in the Eucharist, she said, at last, God is mine and I am his. At last, God is mine and I am his. And she's a convert. And I just think, you know, back then, if there would have been a radio station to help, you know, educate her, you know, let her know about other Catholics in the world or stuff that's happening in the Catholic Church, that would have been an easier conversion for her. And that's what we do at Redeemer Radio. So we're almost done here. $280 left to hit our goal. We only have 5 minutes left. And if we make this goal,
I think we're going to get there.
Father Terry would be willing to play the guitar on air. I think that's supposed to be a question mark. I'm just going to say yes, he is.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so 280 left. St. E's, come on.
I shouldn't have said it, but I did.
Oh, we hit our goal! Yay! Oh my goodness! St. E's blew it out of the water.
One of the difficult things about being a priest is you have to humiliate yourself in multiple ways.
I support this fully.
So
fully support it.
Let me. Just gonna be a short one. Set me as a seal on your heart. Set me as a seal on your soul. For strong as death is love, unyielding as the grave. Nothing can quench its flame. Nothing can quench its flame. Not bad.
Oh my gosh, I got
bit,
the Holy
but
Spirit goosebumps. That was
yeah.
so good.
That's thanks
my
thanks to
goodness.
Matt Maher for
That's so
making that beautiful
beautiful.
song. That was just a very small bit of it, but
I
that's all we
love
got
it.
time for right now anyway, and all that my humility and pride can allow.
Oh, thank you so much, St. E staff, for being here with us today. We thank you for all the donations that we received and those who are going to still donate after the hour is over. I just wish for you a beautiful blessing, that the Lord's grace may be pour upon you. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You're listening to Sharathon on Redeemer Radio, 106.3 FM WRDF, Columbia City, Fort Wayne, 95.7 FM WRDI, Napanee, Michiana, and streaming on the Redeemer Radio app. Stay tuned to your listener-supported local Catholic radio station.
Help us amplify the voice of God. Pledge now by calling or texting GIVE to 260-436